welcome back. We're doing
spoilers
for
Joe Dirt.
Spoilers.
He's gonna knock me. Oh, fuck!
Is that what you wanted?
No! No more of that shit!
You want this?
I'm done with it!
I was looking to rent some movies.
I got Kung Fu Hustle and Excalibur.
Well, yeah, but where's all the good stuff?
This is all I like.
What? It's not what you like, it's what the consumer likes. So you mean to tell me that you don't have any Leprechaun? Any Friday the 13th? You're gonna sit there owning a video store and tell me that you don't have any, The Room? Any Spider-Man?
I got Excalibur, Kung Fu Hustle.
Where's all the good stuff?
Well, I do have something. There you go.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
Keep it on the down low. We're back with the spoiler section of Joe Dirt.
So, Joe Dirt. Let's talk about
Don't
some
try
of
and
our
church it up.
funniest
So I've been
scenes,
told.
Gary. Funniest scenes.
The funniest scene that I thought, like my two favorite scenes in that are the good thing it ain't hot chili day. I know most people like that one.
I like that too.
My
yeah.
favorite one in the whole thing is whenever that kid's mixing that stuff in science class and he's like, if my calculations are correct, this should make ice. And then that stuff starts growing,
Yeah.
and then he's like, oh no, killer mustard gas.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part, is the mustard gas thing.
Mine's the circus tent one.
Oh, where he's getting
Yeah.
like pesticides
Yeah.
out of it. And then his parents' sketch artist looks like Father Time and
Yeah.
Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
I like that part too.
Mm-hmm.
The part that kills me every single time I watch it, I could watch it on a loop and I would probably die, is the part where they shoot bottle rockets or Roman candles at the atom bomb in his dream sequence, and it blows out. And Kiko gets dissolved away. There's nothing left but his smile. It kills me every time. Oh God, it kills me. But there's so many. So
Such a good one.
it starts off with him going to work in his like super busted ass car.
Yeah.
He shows up and he's like, "Here, where's your pass?" And he's like, "Joe Dirt."
Yeah.
Yeah, don't church it up.
Try and church it up, son. It's Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
So then you see that he works at a radio station,
Mm.
and some guys pick on him and knock him down, and another guy sees him and he's like, "Whoa, what's wrong with your hair?" And, he's
And then
like,
that one part with the guy, why did you say it into the mic? I
Oh,
got
yeah.
right here. I got a backup mic right here. Yeah.
They don't like
no
they don't like
feedback.
feedback.
What's up? And then just push him down.
Yeah. Then
He explains
is he like
that
a co-anchor on the
he's like a
radio
producer
show?
or something.
Something like that.
He explains that he has a wig and that it's not his real hair.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "You are too fascinating to not be on this show."
Yeah.
So they bring him in, and the host, Dennis Miller, is just like, "What is going on?
Yeah.
What is this?" And he's like, "Hey man, you're just gonna make fun of me." And he's like, "No, I want to hear your story. I want to know what is going on here." So the rest of the movie, he's explaining his whole life coming up to this point,
Being dropped off at the Grand Canyon
And left.
events up to that point.
Yeah, he gets left at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And the rest of the movie is he's looking for his parents
Mhm.
because he thinks they accidentally left him there
Yeah, but
and never come back.
yeah.
So he goes off on his own for a while. He ends up in a couple foster care places. Some of them are better than others.
See, boy, he goes and gets the duck.
He finds a meteor.
Yeah.
And it's like his only friend, and he keeps it in a wagon.
Mm-hmm.
And
Eats off of it.
Eats
sleeps
off of
with
it. Yeah, it's just his best
everything.
friend. He goes to this town called Silvertown,
Mm-hmm.
which is supposed to be like the greatest town ever. in the history of the world.
Postcard town.
And he decides that he might sell the meteor. So he takes it in and he's like, "This isn't a meteor, son. It's a giant
big old chunk of poopy."
And it comes from an airplane that fell, poo that collects from an airplane that forms into like a ball and falls to Earth. So he doesn't explain what he does with it. He just doesn't have it after that.
Yeah, I guess he just ditches it. It's like,
So then he's roaming around trying to stay alive and scrounge for food. He's still in hubcaps.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes across a dog where the dog's nuts have frozen to the porch. And it ends up being a girl named Brandy, which he befriends.
And her idea of trying to get the dog unstuck.
What was she wanting to...
Hedge clippers at first.
Then a fork.
A fork, yeah.
It's like, no!
Dang. So he becomes best friends with her and the dog. Mm-hmm. And you're introduced to a guy that's trying to get with her, Kid Rock. And he just hates Joe. Yeah. And tells him he's a piece of crap and he just needs to go away. Mm-hmm. But Brandy, you can tell Brandy likes Joe. Mm-hmm. And Joe's just oblivious. Yeah. And
very, very oblivious.
One part, this is brutal. The dad of Brandy just has to go hunting. Yeah. So he takes the dog.
She's like, "Don't go, you're drunk."
And he's like, "Oh, leave me alone." Yeah. So he's hunting at a train yard, which makes no sense.
I think he's hunting trains.
Yeah. Well, he finds one.
Yeah. Barely able to walk.
His foot gets stuck in the track, which for one thing, it's kind of a nitpick, but his left foot gets stuck on the inside of the track. Mm-hmm. And if the train was coming, it would run him completely over and kill him. But
we don't question.
I know it's
we don't.
But he sends the dog to go get help, and the dog just goes and finds a female dog and just goes to town. And he just shows up. Which I don't think they would release somebody from the hospital that quickly, but they just...
I guess the dog was gone for quite a while.
Yeah, the car drives away and he's just missing his leg. Yeah. Super brutally. He's like, "This is the dog's fault." And kills the dog, which I don't know why you would put your entire life and or valuable leg in the hands of a dog. Yeah. But, okay. So... Joe's really sad that the dog died.
Then
he's cremates it.
"I gotta take these with me. I gotta spread its ashes."
He's like, "But I can't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go find my parents first."
Yeah. It's like, you have to take the dog's ashes with you.
Why does the dog care? He's never met your parents. So he has no idea what his parents' names are. So he has to earn some money. So he goes to work at a dental place. And this lady's selling a car. And he's like, "Man, I'd love to buy this car." And she's like, "Oh, I'm trying to look for my parents." And she's like, "Oh, that's great." She's like, "You need a forensic face sketch artist." Mm-hmm. And she's like, "My husband used to be one before I killed him." And he's like, "Oh." And she's like, "Yeah, I pushed him into a wood chipper." I told him it was an accident. She's like, "It's fine." But she's like, "Just give me whatever you have in your pocket and the car is yours." And he's like, "Okay." And so he doesn't even get to drive it. Yeah. He just puts the dog's urn around the rearview mirror. And then his boss put some weights in the this big blimp.
It's a tooth.
That's the tooth. Yeah. And he goes up there and this giant wind comes along and just rips it out and just floats away.
"Okay, bye guys."
Leaving his car.
Yeah. And
Charlie's ashes. So then he's way up in the stratosphere. Yeah. And this plane comes by and the pilot sees "Help! Help!" Yeah. The pilot's mooned him. Yeah. And he's like, "That's not professional."
So then the pilot brings the kid up to the cockpit. He's like, "Hey, have you ever been in a gymnasium before?"
Yeah.
You ever
I
seen it?
like movies about gladiators.
You ever seen an idiot in a tooth? So then he crash lands at a oil derrick, which a funny thing is this oil derrick is named Scotch Oil, which is the same oil company that his David Spade's best friend Chris Farley worked at. That his dad owns. Chris Farley's dad owns a oil company called Scotch Oil, and that's how it ended up in the movie. Kind of a dedication to him.
That's cool.
He works there for a little while, and he utters one of the best lines ever. He just starts messing everything up.
Yeah.
He keeps screaming, "I'm new and I don't know what to do."
Yeah.
And
Hey, you done with that apple?
I'm done with that fart.
Yeah.
Take a bite out of that. So he sets the guy on fire.
Yeah.
Or he sets himself on fire.
He
Well, he
gets
goes,
beat up.
yeah, he's like, I'd love to kick you out of this old place, but
Yeah.
I got to go back to work. And then his boss comes out, Joe Dirt, you're fired. And then they
They
cut
give him
to
his
the
check. And then he's like, it's not a good idea to pee near an open flame when you're covered in oil.
Yeah, then he just bursts into flame.
Yeah.
Then he kisses that girl with that huge
Yeah.
yellow skull in there. Keep that skull.
And so then he takes off, and he decides that he hangs out in a circus tent, which he thought was a circus tent.
Yeah.
There was a house being fumigated, and
He just gets high.
super messed up. I wouldn't even say high, just like brain
Yeah.
damage.
Which, I mean, he probably had brain damage before.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Gets the sketches, which leads to nothing.
Yeah.
Because they
Insert the sketches.
yeah.
The weirdest thing that, like, I didn't catch that until the second time I watched it, that wig was like the fusing of his bones to that
Yeah,
thing, and
yeah.
there was
Yeah.
no way to get that off.
Yeah,
there.
he said those bones fused together, but the wig wouldn't come off, and they're like, "Why didn't you just cut it off?" And he was like, "Well, I don't know."
Yeah.
So then he decides that he needs spiritual help,
Mhm.
and so he seeks out a Native American to search for his parents using mystic ways. And so he goes to this lone fireworks stand to ask for help, and he meets Kickin' Wing.
Yes, who only sells snakes and sparklers. Because
Those
that's
are
all he likes.
That's the best kind.
Yeah.
They become friends.
Yeah. There's no Hoosker do's or Hoosker don'ts.
No. They start hanging out, and they discover an atom bomb buried in the ground,
Yeah.
which he has a small dream sequence that we won't speak of.
Mhm.
But after that, he wakes up and he decides that they need to sell it for money. But first, they should do something with it.
Yeah.
So they go to the records, the DMV records, right?
Mhm.
And
was it?
yeah, because he thinks DMV records.
I thought he went to.
It's the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, they run that bus.
Yeah.
Right. He goes there and he duct tapes the atom bomb to him and threatens to hit it with a hammer and cause it to blow up. And unless they give him the records.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. And then the cops show up and he's like, this is just a septic tank
Yeah.
from an RV.
Then they hit it, and then
That part was pretty gross.
Poo just
I
comes
got
out,
the poo
covers
on
him
me.
in it. And they let him go because he's had enough problems in his
Yeah.
life.
He got covered in poo.
But he uses the records to track down a Buffalo Bob that might know where his parents are. So he parts way with Kickin' Wing and told him he'll see him later. And they have a strictly straight platonic hug that's not gay in any way. And then they leave. He meets up with Buffalo Bob,
Yes.
which is a very upstanding character.
Very.
Yeah.
And he's
That
like,
was-
well, what would you say your name was? Joe Dirt.
Yeah, he seemed so nice at first, too.
Yeah.
It just immediately cuts to him in the hole.
Yeah.
He
Puts the lotion on the skin.
Okay. He's like, we had a deal. He lowers. Auto Trader to him.
Yeah.
Then on the wall it says like Joe Dirt rules.
Yeah.
And he's like open mouth kissing the dog.
Yeah.
And he's like, the things you're doing with that dog are a little freaky.
Yeah. That whole part is just weird.
So then he gets some pictures after Buffalo Bob gets arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks he has some pictures of Joe Dirt's parents' butts.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's the only lead he has to go on.
Yep.
So he decides to get a job somewhere near his hometown house in Louisiana to try and look for his parents. So he gets a job at a school, and he meets Christopher Walken.
He's gonna stab you in the eye with soldering iron.
Stab your face with soldering iron. Is that right? Did your mother sew? Boom! Get her to sew that up! Yeah. Great.
It's nothing but one-liners.
Yeah, he's just
I think
great.
he's got a fever, and the only prescription for that fever is more cowbell. Cowbell.
He mentions that he's born and raised here in Kansas.
Yeah.
Up north in Kansas. Even though he has a horrible British New York accent.
Yeah.
And he saved some kids from a misfortunate ice-making accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part was
A science experiment gone wrong.
Horribly.
like the simplest thing you could possibly make.
He can't claim credit for this, Christopher Walken, so he gets Joe Dirt to claim credit.
Joe Dirt did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Dirt.
And Joe Dirt's like, no, I can't do it. It was Christopher Walken, Clem. He
Yeah.
did this. He's a great guy. And apparently, Christopher Walken's character was a mob boss
Mhm.
and
Is in
witness protection, and all the former bad guys have
Yeah.
come after him, which is awesome at that part. All of his friends show up to kill him,
Mm-hmm.
and the next day he comes and he's like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Oh, they showed up to kill him. He killed them too. It's a big
Yeah.
mess." That guy that plays that officer
Mhm.
is actually Chris Farley's brother.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
That's interesting.
So he's like giving his last respects to Christopher Walken, and he discovers that he's not dead.
Yeah.
That he actually killed them all, and that they're just gonna
Yeah.
slide him into another witness protection.
Mm-hmm.
And
Discovers it in a pretty weird way too.
he meets another chick, which I didn't like this part where he starts working at a gator farm.
Oh yeah.
And, And he meets some girl.
he
and,
gets attacked by a gator.
Yeah, which I didn't think was very funny. He
None a maker.
he discovered his last name finally rings to him that his real name is Nuttamaker and not Dirt,
Yeah.
and so he looks up records and he finds that his parents live somewhere in California now,
Mm-hmm.
and so he tries to go back. He calls Brandy, and Brandy tells him that.
Yeah, she totally like that was the one thing with
Yeah.
Brandy because she did straight up lie to him.
Yeah, yeah.
Like she told him that his parents were dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that he had to brace himself for it. Which I understand his parents were like kind of crazy, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he, people kept referring to the things that Buffalo Bill did to him. The Buffalo Bob was they stuck a road flare up his bunghole
Mhm.
and like did other dirty things to him, and he's like, nothing happened.
Yeah.
And he meets a weird gentleman when he's looking at his old house that keeps saying that he likes to see homos naked.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ref off the Water Boy.
Which it is the ref off the Water Boy.
And he's in that same
He's
character.
Helio.
Yeah.
It's the same guy, same character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which connects it all to the Sandler verse.
Yes.
Sandler.
It is a Happy Madison movie.
Look it up. Sandler verse. But anyway, so then he goes back to Brandy, and he gets interrupted by Kid Rock, and tells him that he's getting married to her, and nobody likes him. But Death Leopard sucks.
Yeah.
Has to throw in that last little bit.
He runs away, and that's up to date right now.
On his
So
life.
after that point,
he starts trying to find his parents, and then he ends up going to see Carson Daly at on an MTV show.
yeah,
And anyway, so then his parents call up, and the mom's like, his parents aren't dead. I'm looking at his dad right now, and they sound just like super redneck.
Yeah.
And then nobody believes them, and they're like, "Oh, ma'am, you shouldn't drink the bomb water."
Yeah.
And then after that, she's like, "Is this where you want to be when Jesus comes back, making fun of little old lady?"
Yeah.
So then he gets them to trace the phone call back to California, and then they live in this kind of little mobile home that they all go check out, and these people are like trying to pitch this clown idea the whole time, and you can tell that the only thing that the only reason that they would have called was for them to get some kind of publicity for these clowns. And so then he tries to interrupt them, and he's like, "I'm sorry about you messing up your clown pitch, but how would you not go check out where you left your son or whatever, go to the last place?" And then that guy's like, he's like, "Well, we didn't look." And he said, he asked him why not. He's like, "Well, that's like asking how does the posi track on the
how's the rainbow made?
Yeah.
How's posi track on the rear end of a Plymouth work?
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah, but he was really that scene was pretty funny. And
so then Joe decides that
to take out all the clowns.
Yeah, just pushes it over and breaks them all, and they freak out and so
try to ground him.
Yeah, you're grounded. So then he tries to kill himself. He's gonna jump off a bridge, and some cop
lassos him,
ropes him with a bungee cord, and so he falls and bungee cords and smashes his head on the bottom of the bridge. And he wakes up and he has a new do, which is like dreads,
kind
which
of
looks weird.
Yeah,
and all of his friends from the whole movie are there, and they're going to be a happy family. And he's got his car back.
Yeah,
and he ends up trying to race Kid Rock, which his car just destroys him.
Yeah,
and they just drive away into the sunset.
And he has Charlie 2.
Charlie 2.
It's like Audrey 2, but a dog, not a plant.
Let's give our final thoughts.
It was pretty good, but it did get just destroyed by a lot of critics. Like, I think Rotten Tomatoes gave it like a 10 or 11 or something, and like generally all the critics really didn't like it.
Roger Ebert said it was one of his top 10 worst movies ever.
I mean, it is hot garbage,
but it's funny. Yeah.
It knows it's hot garbage.
It succeeded. It had it costed $17.7 million, and it grossed like $30 million.
Yeah.
So it still made some money, but
enough to make a sequel.
Yeah. Now the sequel was really, really bad.
I
didn't make it.
I just skipped that one.
It is trash. I watched the whole thing. Trash. Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
I guess that's like the 10-second review of the.
It's bad. This is the 10-second review of the second one. It sucks. So don't watch it. It almost that enough to ruin the first one.
You got 5 seconds to spare.
They rehash everything.
Don't do drugs.
Time.
I made it halfway through the sequel.
Yeah.
But that's probably enough time on the sequel. It is really bad.
Yeah.
I love this movie. It's super great.
What would you rate this movie?
Yeah, good rating.
I'm gonna give it 7.5 of 10 meteorites.
Bastard. I was gonna use that.
Really? Because
Yeah.
I can like put meteorites in the whole thing. That's what I know.
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 frozen dog testicles.
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 claws. But make sure you subscribe, ring that bell, give us a like, share it around.
Buy our merch. Watch all our videos.
Watch all of them. Film on repeat. All of them.
Stay tuned for review We don't know what it is.
Um,
When we review a confetti gun,
just
yeah,
keep a watch on our channel. But
click the bell.
we'll catch you next time.